tell parents out there what to do and
Right.
walk through without me interrupting you.
So I instructed my son every day, you're going to, on a fresh sheet of paper for each class, you're going to write down these things: date, concept, classwork, homework, class notes. And when you're in class, when class is meeting, I need you to be able to identify what was the main target of learning that day. That's the concept, right? So my example here is photosynthesis. Now, I prefer my son to handwrite this stuff. So he's not using his computer. He's actually writing notes physically on a piece of paper during class. And then we go over it every night together. So once he's identified the concept, they're probably working on an activity in class. That's the class work. Okay. And I need to know, was that class work something that's due? Did you need to turn something in? What exactly was the class notes? Because I was finding there were assignments missing from work that was done in class and assignments missing from work that was supposed to be homework, right? So it was important for me that he differentiate between what was classwork and what was homework.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so then hopefully through the course of the learning, right, the teacher has either assigned some homework or follow-up that happens from the classwork related to the concept. And I've asked my son to note that. So what homework is due that week? A lot of his teachers use Google Classroom. And so I can see with him very easily what is due. But sometimes it takes a little digging. So I'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah.
And then I ask him to take class notes. Now, those class notes are not always up to what I would expect, right? And so I make sure that he tried to make a couple of entries on what was actually discussed in the class, what notes the teacher was giving, that he actually writes them down to sort of construct some of that meaning internally. So I've just used the topic of photosynthesis and work that you might do in a classroom in the middle school or high school level with photosynthesis. So this is just a representation of what you might want to see, right? So what I do with the entries every day is that when we get home, and sometimes it's before practice, before dinner, sometimes it's not until much later in the evening. It's when we have time, right? So instead of saying in my house, "What'd you do today?" "Oh, nothing." "What'd you learn?" It has to be a much more specific response. So I find that asking questions is the best way to, understand if there are gaps, all right, or we're missing some things. So in addition to looking at the daily entries, I'll ask questions about, I'll say, so it looks like you did a flow chart in Google Classroom and you turned that in. And I'll say, so can you show me where you did that? And he'll show me. You see, it says submitted or resubmit or waiting for grade. And I can see that in Google Classroom. So to me, that's like, okay, that's done, right?
Right.
If I don't see that, then I'm like, well, let's go into the stream. I need to see the work for, the what the teacher has put in the stream for classwork, and I'll be looking for things. A lot of times I found my son could give answers on the surface that seemed okay, but if I did just a little bit of digging under the surface, it didn't quite make sense, and that's where I could see the gaps. So what I do is sit down, go through the daily entries, and at the same time, have him walk me through where those assignments are ultimately going to be turned in or where they are turned in now, so that I can confirm that it's done. My goal for him is that over the next few weeks, I could do this maybe every other night, every 2 to 3 nights, once a week, and then I don't have to do it, but maybe once a month, right? That would be my goal for him at 11, is that as we move through the semester, there's a gradual release. He's got the tools. He knows the expectation that I'm going to sit with him, ask questions, and also double check on those. Notice how we haven't mentioned I'm checking any sort of grading system, right, where grades are input.
Right.
Me, I like to I'm kind of old school in the fact that when I was in school, my parents only saw grades every 6 weeks. I knew exactly what the expectation was. When those grades came home, they better be A's and B's, right? That was the expectation that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I haven't really diverted from that in my own children because I do think they do need time. And they don't need the daily, like, I saw that you didn't turn in an assignment, right? Because what that does is if you're checking grades all the time, every day, and I see it all the time. Parents will check grades, they text, um, you lost your phone. I saw that you had a bad grade, right? They're getting that in the middle of the school day. It's creating a lot of anxiety. It distracts from the learning environment, right? There, to me, again, a much better way to do it is to sit together in on every 3 weeks or every 6 weeks. And after you've been doing the daily entries and looking through Google Classroom, sit together every 3 to 6 weeks
Yeah.
and look at the grade report and ask questions. This test seems really low. What happened here? You know, well, I see you didn't do some of your homework leading up to that test. You see why it's so important to do homework because that helps you prepare for the exams. So those are some of the really good conversations. And I think, as annoying as it might be, I think secretly my son is probably very grateful that I will take the time, knowing that I, am in schools all day, dealing with academic issues and helping teachers and students, achieve and teaching and learning. I think secretly he probably appreciates that I'm going to take the time because it's important.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want a quick look at grades. You're not getting into root cause or fixing any problems unless you sit down and have a dialogue and ask questions and dig in.
Let me ask you the timepiece. I know that there's probably people watching and, they hear you say, to take the time to do this. And you're somebody who, you're busy. You got a lot
Mhm,
going on a daily basis when you're going through this and starting this
mhm.
process. How much time does it take
Sure.
for the student and how much time does it take for a parent who wants to support the student?
I think if you really dedicate 15 minutes,
That's it?
honestly, I think you can get it done in 15 minutes. Now, some of the answers to your questions, right, or some of the digging may require some more follow-up,
Yeah.
right, for your child. But I think a good 15-minute conversation of, let's get your notebooks out, let's sit in front of the computer, and let's walk me through the highlights of your day, classwork, homework, notes. And if I'm seeing what I want to see, it may take 15 minutes, right?
Right.
When you
That's
don't
great.
see what you want to see, it might take a little bit longer. But the idea is, I'm always one of those, this mom's not going to break. Like, we're going to do this until I feel like it's ingrained in you. And so it's not one of those things I'm going to forget about. This is important. I need to teach you some skills and some time management and how to make your own meaning out of learning. So that he can be more active. And I think he realizes, she's not going to give up on me. Right.
Yeah.
So I need to come and meet her halfway. And that's what I tell my own students is like, your teachers aren't going to give up on you. I'm not giving up on you. We're more willing to meet you more than halfway. We just need you to meet us there.